Ouch. Mother chunk. I gotta do something about that. This thing looks like ass. Good morning, gamers. Recently, I built myself this new workbench. You can see it behind me. I had a workbench. It was roughly right here, but it could blow over with a gust of wind, and I am inside. So take that for what it's worth. One of the many tools I used to build that workbench was this square. And I'll tell you what, spoiler alert, I really hate it. It's rusting, peeling, flaking, chipping, all things you don't want a square to be doing. And that's really my only square that is not penis size. But pretty soon I'm gonna build myself a new outfeed table for this new table saw I find myself in possession of. Thank you, Mom and Dad. But I really don't wanna use that square again. It's a functional square in terms of it is a 90-degree angle, so check. But I'm gonna take some time today and tomorrow and maybe other days to build myself a new square, a new 2-foot square, so I don't have to deal with that rafter square anymore. I was digging in my butt. I was digging in the scrap bin and I found 2 pieces, one of maple, one of walnut, that I think are going to be kind of exactly what I need for this little ditty. I've slowly become more interested in hand tools. That's why I built this new bench. I'm actually really liking hand tools. Still not great at them, so this is going to be a learning experience for the both of us. Our first step is to make this piece of maple not as thick as it currently is. So what am I doing right now? I have set this marking gauge to a thickness I like. It's in the neighborhood of a 1/4 inch, and I'm going to make, this is going to be the part of the tri-square that's the long part that goes up. So I need this to be thinner by a good bit than my piece of walnut that will be the base. The closer you have your subject, substrate, or whatever the right word is, the closer you have it to the vise, the less it's going to vibrate. Well, didn't want to do that. Another option that has the potential of being even cheaper than $10 is buying a vintage saw like this. They're even cheaper if you buy them on like Facebook Marketplace or something. They are super cheap, but the problem is you typically have to sharpen them on your own. I'm a little over halfway done. See, a little over halfway done. I'm gonna flip it over now. Switching back to the big guns. Whoa! All done. Oh wow, that's so terrible. I've never seen something worse in my life. Well, I don't have a plane or a planing stop. I do have some clamps that I could use. Let's break out the number 5. I'm a big fan of Stanley planes. They tickle me. Okay, well maybe this one could use some sharpening. Yeah, back there needs some work. Definitely on this whole left side. Well, how well will this come off on camera? Not crazy well. But you can see the parts of that I drew of my line that I slipped under it. Those are just barely visible, and there's just a hair of pencil line there. That means I've hit my line. Feels smooth, feels flat, looks flat if I look down the sight. I mean, that looks pretty flat and rectangular to me. Time to move on to the much easier next step, and that's jointing one edge. All right, let's get rid of all this nonsense. I've got this little scrap of walnut. That's actually 2 pieces of walnut that I've glued together. I'm going to use this to be sort of the base, and I think it's already a good thickness and a good length, right? I'm going to want this side facing down. I want it basically in this orientation. And the ends are already square. Took care of that off camera. So I don't want to just like glue this or screw this there. I want this to be in there more secure, so I'm going to do what's called a bridle joint. Think of like a mortise and tenon, but one side is open. And I'm just going to eyeball this. I don't really know if I care if it's perfect or not. I just want it to be pretty good, so I've got my marking knife. I'm just taking my marking knife, doing a whole bunch of little marks that I hope line up. Here is going to be tougher because my thumb's in the way. There you go. Oh, that's so tough to see. But I'm as zoomed in as I can get. And hopefully you can see at least that line there. And there's another line that's there. I'm going to take my marking gauge. I'm going to set it so that my knife just kind of plops in there. And I can just take it and extend these lines. You don't have to press too hard if your little wheel is sharp enough. You can just do a bunch of repeated cuts. It's much easier to see on edge grain than end grain. So I've got my lines marked out. And I'm just going to cut on the inside of them so I don't go over them. Ouch! Mother chunker. That hurt. Ow. I gotta do something about that. Gosh, fart it. Okay. That should be pretty good. Getting the main part of this out is pretty easy. Come on, Buster, get out of there. I know you don't want to be in there, and I don't want you to be in there, so get out of there. There we go. Lock that in my marking gauge line. Yep, still a hump on this side. All right, Buster, I took some time off camera and I refined this joint a little bit and I got it to fit. The bottom's not bad. I've done better, I've done worse. A little gappy towards the top, but otherwise exactly what I want. Ran into a bit of a pickle up here and on the side. I kind of lost sight of my line on this side and drifted off, unfortunately. Not the end of the world. At the end of the day, it is a tool. It does not have to be aesthetically perfect, but all right. I think I'm ready to do the glue up here. I'm going to try something different because I'm not so proud of that inside joint. I'm going to try using epoxy. It gives me a longer open time, and because my joint is snug in some places and loose in others, and because of that loose in others part of that sentence, I want to use the epoxy, I think. Is it necessary? I don't think so. I would say probably not necessary, but figure I'd try it. I know I need a 50-50 blend. Those look like two even piles, right? To give the color I'm looking for, I like to save these old like supplement medicine bottles, and I use them for all sorts of things. One of the things I use them for is for putting sawdust in for moments like this. So this is my little jar of walnut dust with little flecks of stuff that's not walnut dust, unfortunately. The better you mix it, the better it works. This is on the more stressful side of glue up, so the extra open time with epoxy is helpful. Like a lot of glue ups, I need this to be perfectly 90 degrees. Unlike other glue ups, I don't have any real good way of supporting this. So the more time I have to work, the better. Yeah, this epoxy is too thin, and there's nothing keeping it in place. So it's just kind of flowing, and this is not good. This is not good at all. Hey, this little piece of a cutting board is pretty thin. That should work. Whoa, okay. Perfect, okay, so that's some decent clamping pressure. Now, where are we sitting at? We are sitting at not really 90 degrees, okay. Now that is perfectly 90 degrees. I'm pretty happy with that, I think. And ultimately, I don't really have much of a choice to be anything other than happy with that. Well, the epoxy's cured. This thing looks like ass. Let's see if I can make it look not so much like ass. I mean, it's not working. It just isn't working. I guess I can try shooting it with my Glock. Something's kind of happening. Not anything I care for. And I'm worried, when I built this shooting board, I only made it, this is 3/4 plywood. And this is like an inch, so it's sticking above it, and I think I'm starting to see the early signs of some end grain tear out. Plan C, I suppose. Okay. Everything seems pretty level now. And if you look from the end, I'm pretty happy with it. Let's try to get some of this excess epoxy out of here. Okay, this is about as clean as I think it needs to be. Why don't we move on to the last step? Reinforcing that joint a little bit. Okay, so here's my plan, and here's my little setup. I have a 3/8 of an inch spade bit put into my drill. I will use that to drill out these holes for the dowels. Now, what is stopping me from blowing the back out, just like I did to your mother, is I have clamped this down to a sacrificial piece of plywood that can support that end grain as it's coming through. Hopefully this works. Seems to have really not liked that. Oh, it cracked again. Maybe 3/8 is too big of a chunk to bite off on the first go. Why don't I try warming it up to the idea? I almost want to leave it at a 1/4 inch. Let's keep going anyway. Let's actually leave it at 5/16. I like those size holes. I think going any bigger would be a mistake. All right, here we are, back at the bench. What I've got here is the other half of that initial piece of maple that I resawed, and I think it'll come in handy for getting our dowels. There we go. There's our dowel pin. See, look, it's perfect. Looks just like a little circle. Now, cheapskates, look away. I'm about to use the most expensive tool I have used all day. I'm going to use this to turn our little thang into smaller thangs. And there we have it. Okay, Buster, let's get cracking on this thing. I'm excited because this is moving along faster than I expected this morning. I've tested. It seems like I think that'll work once I get a hammer. Oh, look what I have found. A rubber mallet. I'm just gonna put I'm just raw dogging it, I think. I don't need much glue, and I wanna act a little fast here because the water from wood glue will make it swell up and then I worry it might not fit. Through. Get rid of some of this excess. I'm always kind of curious. I don't think there's the glue itself. I don't think is really going to do a whole lot because, well, my hole is so tight. Uh-oh. You didn't hear me say that. The hole on the square, not my hole. Somebody's hole is so tight. I think that the wood glue just kind of ended up being squeezed out of there. Okay, one down, one to go. Okay, there we go. I like it actually. It kind of looks like a domino, like Domino's pizza. I'm gonna let this glue dry. I'm gonna walk away, eat some breakfast, and well, we'll come back once this is dry enough that I want to sand it. It is a brand new sun-shining day, ladies and germs. So let's resume where we left off. A lot has changed since the last time that we spoke. I've done a little bit of filing, some scraping. I've even done a little bit of coping and shaping. So I feel like I'm ready for the finale here. And that finale is to see if this puppy is actually a square. The way we test that. I've got my radial arm saw table here. It's kind of in a weird spot. I was going to move it into that room, but well, it doesn't fit. So it's going to be right in front of the doorway for now. But that's perfectly fine for this application. I know that this edge is perfectly flat. So if I butt up my square against it, and I draw a line, and then I take my square, and I flip it the other way so the butt is facing west, and then I draw a line that is really close to my original line. It should be perfectly parallel. That's a little 9th grade geometry there for you. And you know what? I'm almost happy with it. We have just a tiny bit of shaping to do right here towards the bottom, the tiniest amount. You can see they're really close to parallel. I almost forgot. That's just one side of the square. Let's check the outside now. Wow. I'm gonna say, looking at this puppy, the outside is so close, I'm not even gonna bother. So if our line test is to tell us anything, it's the right here at the end. I just need to make the smallest adjustment I can. Okay. That might be just about as good as I feel like I can get it. Oh, I bet you've been missing this. Prostate exam time. Do they do it with 2 fingers or 1? I've never been up by my prostate, so I don't know kind of the environment or layout. You got to assume 1, I guess. 2 fingers up the ass for someone who's not expecting it is kind of a tall order. It is time for the first drop of oil to find its way onto this square. This part is probably gonna make me bust a nut, but let's find out for sure. Yep, busted a nut. All right, let's let that sit until this afternoon. I'm not gonna do a second coat of this stuff. It's mostly just for appearances. I'll show you what we're gonna do for protection. I've been testing out this new, to me, way of finishing up wood, and it's been tickling me. It leaves such a wonderful feeling. Let's let her rest, boys. Let's not disturb her. Bitch! I'm back, and I'm ready for wax. This is a fun little trick I learned from the 1800s. Lately, my favorite finish has been to, soak it in a little bit of, I use a tongue oil finish. You watch me do that. But you can also use boiled linseed or whatever. It's just, that's what I have. And then you come back and you take some paste wax. You can tell because it almost says paste wax on it. And just buff it on with, this is 4-0 steel wool, 4-aught if you live in England. Really lay in some elbow grease if you can. The more elbow grease you put in there, the better. Whoa. I find this works best for these projects that they get a lot of, you touch them a lot. You touch them a lot and they have big open fields. This shop tool is like the perfect thing. You're gonna touch it a lot. There are very few corners. In fact, I'd even argue there's 1 corner and it's right there. For my next trick, to get rid of all this excess wax, this is mineral spirits. I use mineral spirits because it thins out the wax even more, making it easy to wipe it away. And when it's super thin and you take an old, what used to be white cloth and is now brown, wrap up 2 fingers in it, like it's your first date with a new lady, and you just rub it in there like that, the wax will fill in little spots and it'll give it a really silky finish. This is what they used to do way back in the day. This used to be like the only wood finish. I'm guessing. I don't know. I wasn't there. But I'll tell you, if it worked for them, it works for me too. Because I'm really happy with this thing. It's good enough. And that's what I'm all about.